Welcome back, guys. I'm going to talk about some pro wrestling for a while, as I want to step away from football for a minute, if I can just do that. And I'm going to talk about my feelings about this wrestler right here, and how the way he's been booked has been really mind-boggling. You know, in the pro wrestling world, you can be one or two personalities of a pro wrestler. Either be the face or be a heel. Will both have their gains as well as their drawbacks. But that usually depends on how a wrestler is booked and the crowd receptions from which a wrestler has to take in to either be loved or to be hated. This is pretty much the case for WWE superstar Gunther, as sometimes he played the good guy when he wants to be, knowing that he would have the fans and the locker room fooled when in fact he's the villain all along. Gunther is not your typical average heel like most wrestlers. As a matter of fact, at times, Gunther don't even seem to be a heel when he's blunt and honest during his promos in the ring. I think he's just being himself because he does get some positive reactions sometimes, as he is a well-respected wrestler. But at the same time, with how the way he's booked alongside with being a monster heel, respect goes out of the window when it comes to his opponents, where in the process, he doesn't give respect to those. Gunther is one of those wrestlers where it's his time, his rules, his ring, and his way of thinking, as nothing else matters to him when it comes to his opponents. Other than what he has accomplished in the WWE for the last 7 to 8 years, this man is always on a mission to hurt, humiliate, and defeat someone, and sometimes erase them from history. And he doesn't take much effort to do it. A lot lately, he's been on a killing spree. Or should I say career killing spree. As not only he is considering to be the ring general, he's also earned the nickname Career Killer, a play off of Randy Orton's Legend Killer name that he had back in the 2000s when he first came into the WWE. And since have done what he said and lived by it. So far, he has retired wrestlers such as Goldberg, John Cena, and most recently AJ Styles, as we shall all expect more of this from Gunther later this year. The biggest question is, who will Gunther retire or force into retirement next? In the men's division, there's only a handful of legends who have been in the WWE longer than 5 years max. And I use the term legends quite loosely with quotes. So, in the process, we don't know who's going to be next for Gunther. But I can pinpoint some possible names that could possibly be right. But not for sure. But they could be right. With how the way Gunther is currently being booked by Triple H and company, it's somewhat stiff. Because Gunther doesn't have to do much to get negative reception from the WWE Universe, because he knows that the universe doesn't like him. Even when he does get praise, rarely. Having Gunther retire Goldberg, John Cena, and AJ Styles, based off all the finishes, have left a bad taste in the mouths by not only the WWE Universe and within the locker room, but media outlets that cover pro wrestling, like myself. Those matches were overpowered with sloppy workflow, as the opponent could always find some life to match up well against Gunther, and could put Gunther away if they want to. But with Triple H and company, they will find the dumbest ways possible to still have Gunther win, even when he's vulnerable. In which much of the time during those matches, especially against John Cena and AJ Styles, he was vulnerable. Even in the matches with Cody Rhodes. If that match between him and AJ Styles that they just had at the Royal Rumble in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia doesn't tell anything about the booking that Triple H is doing with Gunther, then to be honest, I don't know what does. And before I go, I'll just say this. Respectfully, Gunther has made himself the most hated man in the WWE and in the modern era of pro wrestling. Even though he is good at what he does and he is a workhorse. He does work his butt off night in, night out, day in, day out. Depends on the situation in him at the WWE. But with how the way Triple H is booking him, just to retire or erase legends this fast in this type of fashion, it's an awful practice in the WWE. And many of those guys in the locker room are just chewing their nails off, hoping that they will not be his next opponents. That's going to be it for this wrestling edition of the Eli Speaks Show. How do you guys like my take about Gunther possibly being the most hated man not only in the WWE, but in the current era of pro wrestling? See, it's hard to tell if he's the most hated man or not. Like I said before, I think he's just being himself. You know, some wrestlers can be a face or a heel. That's because they're just being themselves. They're not being forced into some type of character that they feel uncomfortable with. I think Gunther's just being himself. And as always, please like, comment, share, subscribe, and thanks for listening.